Fairly shock news this week in mental health. News that 15,000 children and teenagers are on antidepressants, some as young as 7. That number has soared 98% in the last 10 years. There are 2,000 children under the age of 7, in fact, who have, under the age of 13, who have collected prescriptions for antidepressants. I guess this is just another indicator of the social issues that seem to be so prevalent in our community. And we're going to be talking today about a social issue. I guess it's a significant addiction, but I'd like to introduce today Berni McBride, the project coordinator Smokefree for mental health and addiction NGOs, and Jane Galea-Singer, who has a similar title but with the Auckland District Health Board. She is the Smokefree coordinator for mental health and addictions. Welcome, Berni and Jane, to take it from us. How was response to your promotion at the Touch tournament? It was great to see you there.
Yeah, thanks, Sheldon. It was lovely to be there. And we actually had a really good response. We had a number of staff and service users who'd been involved in our previous Team Stop Smoking challenges, so really nice to touch base. And we had a couple of new services that were interested and actually have joined us on this 12-week Team Stop Smoking challenge, so that was a really good result.
Right, so you do a sort of a training that's called a 12-week Team Stop?
It's actually a 12-week Team Stop Quit Smoking challenge. So we have got 16 teams, a pool in ADHB and a pool in Waitemata, who are on a journey to reduce or quit smoking over a 12-week period in a sort of competitive, fun way with incentives and prize giving next week. Oh, great. So so those teams come together from different NGOs and mental health service providers. Jane?
Yes, certainly, and we've got 4 teams within the ADHB as well, and it's a mix of service users and staff, so we've got shared teams there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds as though there's quite a bit of activity going on in terms of Smokefree.
Yeah, there is. So at the moment we've got 6 NGO services involved in the challenge with 11 teams, and we've had other NGO services who were involved the last 2 years as well. So yeah, I think it's very recognised across the Auckland sector, the importance of supporting people to reduce and quit.
Right. I mean, smoking has been an issue for users of mental health and addiction services for years, and some of that addiction was probably generated by the services themselves. Unfortunately, cigarettes were used as a vehicle to encourage good behaviour and cooperation, I guess, in mental health and addiction services. How much is that still a factor, do you think, among consumers and support staff?
Yeah, it's a changing picture. It certainly is a changing picture, and we have to remember back in the time for other institutions such as the Army and for other people, it was also the same message, cigarettes are good for you. However, now we're all recognising that cigarettes aren't good for us, and that, a huge part of the roles that Berni and I have been, it's been a culture-changing position, so we're trying to dispel many of those myths that once existed.
Is it true that services like the Army and even mental health, did they tell people that cigarettes were good for you?
I think the tobacco companies themselves really helped in that with their marketing. I can only talk from personal experience that, some people have told me that their own doctors said that cigarettes were good for them. And that's not just in mental health, that was also in the general sector.
They must have been being paid a commission by the tobacco companies, surely. Well, so, how far back are you going?
I'm going back as far as my mum in the 1950s.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I hope that isn't a message that still gets out there by any organisations.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We now know much better that these cigarettes are an addiction. They've been perfectly engineered to be a transport for nicotine, and it's certainly something that's not good for anybody, not for their physical health or their mental health.
I mean, I've heard doctors say that nicotine is more addictive than a drug like cocaine. Is that your understanding?
It's on the same level as heroin, that is right, but we have to remember that nicotine is not the dangerous part of cigarettes. The danger is in the smoke. And that's why we use nicotine, to help us become away from cigarettes through nicotine replacement therapy.
Yeah, I've seen figures that suggest that up to 80% of people with lived experience of mental health or addictions smoke, especially where there is experience, where they're experiencing severe symptoms like probably their diagnosis is schizophrenia or bipolar. Has there been any movement in that?
I mean, the figures that we know sort of within New Zealand and internationally is between 30 and 40%. We know that the prevalence hasn't decreased to the same rate as the general population, but I think as well we don't always have the best data collection, so it's been difficult for us to, I guess, get clear about how much of a reduction has taken place. But in the work that we're doing and that Free, who are a mental health and addiction stop smoking service, done, we've definitely seen some reduction, but yes, the figures are still higher than the general population. Well, I guess we're not seeing the same, decrease in prevalence amongst Māori and Pacific peoples, as well as with mental health and addictions, and there's a whole lot of factors contributing to that. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I really wanted to ask was, since you came to the Framework Touch tournament a few months ago, it's the first time that I've heard this term kickbutt. Is this a new sort of direction or a new message?
Well, we took it from the Stoptober campaign, who had the Let's Kick Butt Together campaign going. So that was their slogan. So we thought, okay, kicking butt sounds a good idea. And the theme for us was Let's Kick Butt Together, because this is very much about a team challenge. And we're sharing that journey with people. So as people are trying to reduce and quit, we're sharing the journey with them. So we brought in that togetherness.
Right. So that togetherness is sort of a new focus, is it, in mental health?
It certainly seems to be a good way for people to reduce and quit. Trying to do it on your own isn't very successful. And we certainly see in our teams it brings a good amount of, comradeship and perhaps a bit more motivation, because, they begin to see other people in the group can do it and they don't want to let their team down. Yeah. So, yes, certainly working together to reduce and quit is a good way to do it.
So what are some of the goals, Jane, in terms of that sort of team competition, that team activity? What are some of the goals? Is it to stop smoking completely, or is it to reduce the smoking, or?
It's the first goal is for people to start on the journey to become smoke-free. That's the first step for people. So, ideally, if they can quit, that's the perfect goal. But for some people, that journey can be much longer, and, just quitting can seem quite impossible. So it might be just reducing down to get there to quit. But the important thing is, as people reduce, we try and sustain that reduction so we don't go back up. And, through actually 3 challenges that we've had, we've seen people on different challenges, they've reduced down, sustained it, and then on the next challenge they've managed to either reduce down some more or quit,
So once this sort of team competition finishes, what sort of support is there for people?
I guess there's a variety of support. Obviously, we've got our specialist stop smoking services, Quitline, ProCare, the Phono within the Auckland area. We've also got support within the DHBs and primary health. We've done a lot of training and education for our mental health and addiction workforce as well. And this is the 3rd challenge that we've run within mental health and addictions in Auckland. So I guess it's about offering a wide variety of support and multiple opportunities to quit. We also find for people with mental health and addictions that they need a sort of wraparound support, hence why our workforce is a really important aspect of it. We need to work collaboratively. Yeah.
So, I know that you've had quite a bit of connection with Framework, and are you getting the message out to our community support workers and key workers and that sort of thing?
We have a regular quarterly newsletter that goes out to our workforce workforce, we run bi-yearly forums, and like I say, myself and Jane have both done a lot of in-service education. We work with services, and Framework's a beautiful example of that, where you have staff that have actually been running a weekly support group for several years, and that's ongoing, and we've got that happening across a number of services.
Yeah.
If I can just add to that as well, I think one of the important things is from the Let's Kickbutt Challenge, people who've quit actually are coming back to help other people quit. So the service users themselves are actually trying to bring people along to the challenge, or even help some people that would, don't feel comfortable to come to the challenge outside of this. So it has that kind of ripple effect.
I mean, what are some of the reasons to kick butt, to give up, quit smoking?
Well, obviously we know health is the biggest issue, so stopping smoking is the best thing you can do for your health. And I guess for people with mental health and addictions, we know that they tend to have a lower life expectancy, so anything that supports good health. But there's also the social, financial aspect of being caught in an addictive cycle, which tobacco is, and also with the increased price of tobacco for people on benefits, it's a huge financial stress.
Yeah, well, that's what's sort of the weekly bill for smoking these days. If somebody's smoking, say, a packet a day, it's costing them how much, Berni?
I think it's on average between maybe $23 and $30, depending on what type you smoke, tailor-mades or rollies. I find most of the people that we work with are actually having to spread their tobacco and their cigarettes throughout the week because they actually can't afford to buy a lot, and that adds an extra stress because then they experience more withdrawal and concern about where the next smoke is going to come from.
We're talking about today, which is quitting smoking, kicking butt, and generally looking out for our health. Berni, you mentioned the statistic that people with lived experience of mental health, I'm not sure whether it includes people with addiction as well, are likely to live 20 to 25 years less than the general population. Do you know what contribution smoking plays in that statistic?
Yes, smoking is one of the main contributing factors to that. And I guess it goes, we all know the health effects of smoking, but people with mental health and addictions often have quite significant level of nicotine addiction, so they've often tended to smoke more and harder. But we think about when you smoke, your time is spent smoking, all your money goes on smoking, it affects your breathing, so you do less, you go out less, you don't have money to spend on things, so you might visit the GP less, you might buy a poorer quality of food, you might not do any exercise, so you've actually got, that wider impact as well.
So really it's a huge impact on the quality of life, isn't it? Because
absolutely.
The money is going on the ciggies rather than perhaps enjoying life, getting out, being able to buy some petrol to take your partner out, go and have a coffee, enjoy other things.
All the things that help to keep us healthy, absolutely. And I guess that's some of the feedback we've had from people with lived mental health experience or addictions that we've worked with. They talk about it as being let out of a prison. It's freedom for the first time in their life. They have money to go and do things. Their whole day doesn't revolve around worrying about where they're going to get their next cigarette. So it frees them up in so many ways, and they start to live differently. And in fact, we had a lovely experience last year of one of our peers who gave up, and his girlfriend said for the first time he was able to take her out for dinner.
Wow.
So these really simple things in life that a lot of us take for granted.
Well, all of those things are very important for our mental health,
absolutely.
Isn't it? To be able to get out, leave our flat or where we live, have some social contact, go and enjoy a walk or whatever. And I think there was somebody at the touch tournament that said he had given up smoking and he was able to enjoy the taste and flavour of his Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm not sure whether KFC is a good replacement for giving up smoking, but
everything's okay in moderation.
Right. Yes. So there are all those wonderful benefits that people enjoy, and people are telling you this, are they? In these kickbutt campaigns and competitions, these team competitions, even though they may not have given up completely, they're starting to feed back to you that they're enjoying their food better, they've got a little bit more money.
Yeah, better breathing, doing more activity, sense of taste, sense of smell. We even got a number of people who are parents who say how their children comment, you no longer stink of smoke. You know, and that's quite huge for people.
Yeah. I mean, there has been a perception that smoking is good to control anxiety and may even be an aid to depression. What is your thinking about that?
To me, smoking is an addiction. So when we have an addiction, we get withdrawal symptoms, which make us feel anxious, agitated, irritable. So therefore, people have a smoke to relieve their nicotine addiction. Therefore, it's seen as anxiety reducing. So you're not actually reducing your anxiety. What you're doing is relieving your withdrawal symptoms. And also, smoking is a very sensory activity. So some of that is perceived as reducing anxiety. And for some people, it's how they take time out. It might be when they have a nice warm drink. But we know that smoking actually increases anxiety. And we know that in the long term, stopping smoking benefits anxiety and depression. But from the late 90s, we've gone from 25% prevalence down to about 17% prevalence. So we've had about 700,000 people have given up smoking. We need to do more to actually get to where we want to be. So that's a big focus.
Much of what I hear from lots of smokers, not just smokers with lived experience of mental illness and addiction, but smokers in general are saying that, you know, they feel social outcasts, if you like, and stigmatised from their smoking. But we do have to remember, you know, there's good reasons for that law, that second-hand smoke is dangerous as well. So we're looking for the greater good and protecting everybody's air. And from personal experience, what I'm finding is that the young people are actually the ones encouraging their grandparents even to stop smoking.
The kickbutt campaign's position on e-cigarettes, they're getting increasing profile, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I mean, our first line is always, you know, our nicotine replacement therapy. And that's very much along with the group and the behaviour support, what we work with. But when we have people who have very strong nicotine addictions and are finding it very hard to reduce and quit, and we've tried a number of those things, then we'll look at what are the factors that make it difficult for them to stop. And if we think an e-cigarette is something that might support them on that journey, then yeah, we absolutely support them with that. And at the moment in our groups, we've got a number of our service users and staff who have gone and purchased e-cigarettes after trying a number of other ways to stop and are doing very well.
So the smoke that I see from these e-cigarettes, which seems to be more pronounced than from an actual cigarette, that's not harmful.
It's actually a vapour.
Right, a vapour, yes.
So, yes. And, I mean, what we know is that we do smoke ELISA readings. So they measure people's carbon monoxide in their lungs. And we know that people that have used e-cigarettes come down quite significantly, particularly once they've switched straight to e-cigarettes. So some people will still use an e-cigarette and smoke. So we always try and recommend that you just cut out the cigarettes completely and go straight to the e-cigarette. And you'll see that carbon monoxide reading come down. So, you know, there's obviously some beneficial health effects there.
We're talking to Berni McBride and Jane Galea-Singer, who are both involved in Smokefree coordination for mental health and addictions. people with mental health and addictions, Berni, that they want to give up smoking?
Absolutely. They want to give it up as much as anybody, and they just need the right kind of support. And we need to keep offering support because it's often a longer journey. They'll often have a lot more quit attempts, and obviously because it's a recovery journey for many people with lived illness and addiction, they have period of lapse and relapse. So it's really important that we just continue to offer support anywhere where they are in their personal journey. Yeah. Quitting often takes a number of attempts, and there's ups and there's downs, but you just step back on, get your support in place and give it another go.
Well, you mentioned support there a number of times. Jane, I think you've got some important support lines, 0800 lines.
Yes, I certainly have. I'd just like to highlight that we do have a stop smoking service, and they're called Ready, Steady, Quit. And they've got an 0800 500 or 601 number there.
So that's 0800 500
601.
Right, so that's Ready, Steady, Quit.
And that's Ready, Steady, Quit. And they're run by ProCare, and they're linked quite closely with the phono as well for the Auckland-Waitemata area.
So let's just, while you've mentioned ProCare and phono, probably important to just explain to listeners, ProCare are a primary health organisation, and they have a contract, a smoke-free contract, do they?
That's right, for the next 3 years, I believe.
And phono sounds as though it's specifically targeting Pacific people?
Yes, that's their aim, but they're like all of us in Smokefree, will help anybody who wants to try and reduce and quit.
Yeah. So are the numbers for ProCare and phono as well, 0800 numbers?
That same number would take you through.
Okay.
That's the referral process. Or people can go through their GP or family doctor.
So GPs are well sort of versed on smoking cessation, quitting, and
stop smoking services. Certainly, yeah.
And of course, Quitline is the major one that I see on television very often.
Now Quitline's a really good one because they're there 24/7, so you can phone Quitline any time of day. So particularly if you are trying to quit and you're getting a craving, you can pick up the phone and speak to somebody. And their number is 0800 778 778.